There is nothing more, of course, than yet another Dune video that the science fiction nerd loves above all else. And as it seems inescapable, I decided to take a look at some of the recent editions of Dune and add my voice to the existing throng. Now, of course, it's an old cliche that a fool and his money will never be parted. And similarly, of course, in a quotation from Dune, we have "the spice must flow." So, which is kind of saying we got to keep the money coming in for the Empire. There you go. And that's why Dune always makes me think of a dynastic fantasy rather than an SF novel. Of course, it is an SF novel, but it resembles a dynastic fantasy, especially the Butlerian Jihad, which gets AI out of the picture. And really, it just makes me think of, you know, the Medicis and the Borgias in Renaissance Italy, because, of course, you know, the good guys and the bad guys and all that. Now, this is the Gollancz Emporium edition of Dune, which, now you shouldn't pay silly money for this. This is on the website at £50. There are people trying to sell this on eBay in the UK for 200, so hold your horses. Now, the main problem with the Gollancz Emporium is that it's very, very poorly marketed and advertised. And this is the standard UK jacketed edition, but this time with a slipcase and limited to 500 copies. And this is number 482, and this is £50. Okay, so we're going to take a look at it and do an unboxing. So for those of you out there who sort of belong to the Harkonnen clan and, you know, are trying to sort of fleece people for £150 more than you probably paid for this, I'm just sort of outing you now and saying you can get this from Gollancz Emporium for 50 quid. So there you go, and it's still shrink wrapped, as you see, and we'll take a little look at it now. Now, I'm one of those people who's probably a bit sad, who loves taking shrink wrap off things. I find it very, very exciting indeed, and I absolutely love it. So we'll just see. Now, I've been collecting limited editions in SF since the 1980s, and the one sort of commonplace thing I would say is that, generally speaking, real small presses do a much better job ever than the major publishers do. There's the odd exception to this. So there we go. Now, we've got a limitation sticker. Let's see, is the limitation sticker on there, or is it actually on the slipcase? It's on the slipcase. That's good. The limitation sticker is on the slipcase, which is great. And it's hand numbered, which is nice, which is the standard. And you've got some nice embossed sandworm on there, and it is a nice colour, it has to be said. It's very pretty. I didn't have high expectations of this, as I don't think Gollancz do a great job these days. There's a little quotation there. And is there one on the bottom? No, they failed there, didn't they? They could have duped that up. So let's have a look. Now, this edition was issued about, I think it was 2021, and it's much the same as the edition you get now. Obviously, it's been reprinted since then. And this Gollancz Emporium exclusive, which you can't buy in the shops, only from Gollancz Emporium, or for those naughty people on eBay who've bought it cheap and trying to sell it expensive, has got gilt edges here, gilt text block, which is quite nice. And of course, let's have a look. And they've tucked the jacket there over the first two pages, which is really bad. I'm going to pop the jacket off, because you will have seen the jacket on the standard edition. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But let's see. So the decorated end papers, which I think are on the original printings of the standard edition. And of course, there was a Waterstones edition of this with a different decorated text block that's now out of print. And that's quite collectible. That was about 100 quid now. And you've got the old sandworm and gilt, bronze gilt embossed on the front, and a lengthier quotation on the spine, which is quite nice, and you've got one on the rear as well. So what are you really paying for this? Well, what you're paying for is the slipcase, the gilt edging, and the numbering. Let's pop the jacket back on. So there we go, dust jacket goes back on. And I decided to get this because I didn't bother at the time, and I didn't bother with the Waterstones exclusive, and I thought I should have, because recently I bought this. This is the Waterstones exclusive of Dune Messiah, and obviously Gollancz have done a standard edition, which is out there in the shops. They haven't done an Emporium one, which tells you quite a lot, and this Waterstones one has this really nice decorated text block as well, which is lovely. So obviously Children of Dune is in the offing as well. So I'm not really a Dune fan, as you can probably tell, but there is something about the iconography of this book and its impact. And as with Lord of the Rings, I'm more interested in the cultural impact of these things rather than the books themselves. I mean, I read Dune for the first time way back, late 70s, early 80s maybe. I think it was late 70s I tried to read, and I didn't get on with it at all, and I found it very clunky and ponderous compared to the fleet, light, skipping, silvery, intellectual, adult sort of work of people like Philip K. Dick, Harlan Ellison and Robert Silverberg. It didn't grab me in the same way, but it is rather nice. I'm fascinated in it as a phenomena. So there you go. So this is like the standard hardcover edition. The other editions in print at the moment in the UK are two different Masterworks editions in hardcover. There's the one with the yellow laminated boards, which I'll flash up on the screen. And there's the one with the red laminated boards. Both are in print at the moment. The red laminated boards one ties in with the new livery for the new line of Masterworks, which haven't gone down very well. Nobody likes the yellow. Only those of us who are Gollancz nuts like the yellow. A lot of people don't like it. So I decided that I'm going to go with these, and I'll get Children of Dune when that comes out, which presumably will be late next year, I'd imagine. And there's the end paper design for the Waterstones exclusive edition of Dune Messiah. Very nice as well, I think you'd agree. Now we are seeing silly money being paid for different variant editions of Dune. Of course, it's always been a collectible book. The true first is very collectible, and early editions have been collectible, which is fair enough. This is one you don't see so much. This is the Masterworks original hardcover, which is from about 20 years ago, which I bought at the time, and they did a load of these with variant jackets. And I think that's art from an early edition. I'm not an expert on the early editions of Dune. I'm not interested enough in Frank Herbert to be so, but that's one you don't see very much. That's one to watch out for. But if you look on eBay at the moment, somebody recently has had a complete set of firsts on there for about £7,000. And what's most interesting about that is you can see the different liveries as it's evolved through time. The most interesting one to me is the plain yellow jacket for Dune Messiah. So as we're looking at the other current editions, we'll just have a look at what's out there in paperback. Now, before we take a look at the current Trade B format editions of the Dune sequence, just to talk about the Ace hardcovers that came out a little while ago, and of course they did a deluxe with them in a slipcase, and there's lots of videos online, and you've seen lots of reviews on websites where the production quality has been really castigated, and it does look very bad. I looked at them myself in a bookshop in Paris earlier this year, and I like the artwork. I think they look really nice, but the production quality is not as good as the Gollancz one. So well done, Gollancz, great stuff. So you can't really complain about that. Of course, there's a full faux leather trilogy in one volume, which is Black and Gilt, which has been around for ages and ages and ages, years and years and years. You can get that, and that's okay. But at the moment, I actually think the B format paperbacks are good buys. They're really, really nice covers. And of course, the thing is, originally Gollancz didn't do paperbacks. Gollancz didn't do paperbacks until 1986. So they licensed the original hardcovers to NEL, New English Library, part of Hodden Stepton, in paperback going way back to the 70s. And I'll show you those editions later on. I have shown them on the channel before. But I actually think these are really nice covers. And interestingly, at the moment, this is the current printing of Dune in paperback. You see it has the Hodder colophon there, which is interesting, and the major motion picture thing. And I think the artwork on these is quite elegant and nice. And you'll notice that this is also Hodder as well. And they do go back and forth between Hodder and Gollancz, but the later ones tend to be, there's the Gollancz colophon there, they tend to be Gollancz. So there you go, that's interesting. I wonder, I think at the moment, have any of the copies of Dune actually had the Gollancz colophon? I'll have to watch out for that and see, because if you're an obsessive, you've got to match them together. You might not be able to do that at the moment. Then of course we have the second trilogy, God Emperor of Dune, Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune, which are not as highly rated, generally speaking, by the readership. Some people like them. I used to have hardcover firsts of Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune. Heretics had a Jim Burns jacket. I sold it on many years ago. Even these are fetching really good money these days, and you can understand why, because once upon a time they were fairly common. They had big print runs, but of course they get worn and rubbed and what have you. Some people don't look after them, and they do have great jackets, particularly the Burns Heretics of Dune, which is fantastic. I wish I'd held on to them, really. And Chapter House Dune was the first science fiction book in hardcover in my bookselling career that I ever bought from a publisher's rep, and it would have been the Gollancz rep. And I was probably only on my second or third stint of buying with a publisher's rep. I'd probably been in the trade a few weeks, and he had Chapter House Dune, and it was like, wow, I'm going to buy a hardcover book for the shop. This is going to be exciting. So that really sort of stays in my mind, really. So there's some of the current editions, with the exception of that, of course, you have a look at. So I would say if you want one of these, don't pay 200 quid for it. You can get it for £50 from Gollancz Emporium, which says really badly advertised. The Gollancz website is basically a blog. If you want to try and find a full catalogue of, say, Masterworks, you can't find it there. You've got to go on Wikipedia, and that sort of is typical of the way large publishers are these days. Small publishers manage to get their websites together, but most large publishers, their websites are terrible, and I'm speaking as a bookseller, somebody who wants to be able to pick up a catalogue, see everything that's in print so I can order in from my customers, and, they don't make it easy for themselves. They really don't. Just as a final treat, though, these are the truly iconic Dune covers, the originals by Bruce Pennington from the 1970s in NEL, A format. You'll notice that as these are A format paperbacks, they're smaller than the current B format. These are the ones that we knew and loved back in the day. This was the edition that I originally sort of read, not this actual copy. And you turn it around, and of course, it's got really nice typography, and there's no blurb whatsoever. Absolutely fantastic, no blurb whatsoever. They were so confident of the fame of the books. It was really, really huge in the 1960s that they did it without a blurb. Isn't that fantastic? There's the old ornithopter there and the spice being harvested. Really great. And there's one of the Fremen on the cover, looking quite medieval there. And there's also no blurb on the rear of Dune Messiah. And I've always been taken by this rather fetching green of Children of Dune. And you turn it around, and again, no blurb. What confidence they had then in these books. Look at that. And these are 80s reprints, I think, obviously because of the barcodes there. The barcode came in the 70s. You notice there's no barcode on that one, you notice. So there you go, interesting stuff. So that's what's out there with Dune at the moment. I think, what I would say is go with the Gollancz Emporium one, and then try and pick up the Waterstones exclusives if they pop out, because you'll get quite a nice set then. They won't entirely match because the slipcase is only with the Emporium one, but as I say, the Waterstones one is out of print, so you can't get that now. You'll pay silly money, and for 50 quid it's not bad. I've seen better thicker slipcases, certainly better than the Ace ones. So there you go, the spice will flow, as they say. Bye for now.